Welcome everyone to Rebel Impact for another video where we talk tactically about Star Wars Destiny. I'm your host, Rebel Gray, just getting my voice back, and today we're going to talk about a few of the legendaries in the newest set, Legacies. Now, I'm not going to put them all in a big list in order of what I think is best or anything like that. Instead, I'm going to talk about three that I think are pretty good, one that I feel has the potential to be good, and one that I'm really kind of disappointed about. And I think that's a little different than what you might watch here on YouTube. And you know me, I try to be different. It doesn't make me the most popular content creator, but hey, I'm not here to impress you. I'm just here to have some fun and share a bit about what I'm thinking about these cards. And so far, at least 300 of you think it's worth spending time here, and that's totally rad. All right, so after my little splash screen here, we're going to get right to it. I'll see you in 10 seconds. So, Rebellion Leader is a card that I really want to be good. Those die sides are totally amazing, and as a hero player, I'd love to have access to a 2 discard side or 3 shield side. The power action is awesome control for range damage or anything, even on this particular die. The glaring issue, of course, is it's tied to this card, and you still need to have dice in the pool to make it work, and that's been a hero problem pretty much since day one. The crazy good thing this thing is crazy good though when you consider things like C3PO. You've got big values here that can become anything you want, and as far as I'm concerned, I don't even see the focus and the indirect sides on this thing. The main problem, however, is the same problem that we've had in Destiny for a long time. High cost upgrades without redeploy just aren't a great investment. By the time you get this thing on the table, you have to ask yourself if it was worth the money that you just sank into it. Now, if you can get this thing on the board round 1, which seems sort of possible in a world with a money plot and Lando, then sure, this card could be very high impact. But you can't make it the crux of your deck by any means. Chances are that red unique character that this is going to land on will become a huge target. And replay value for this card looks horrible when you consider that the opponent will see it coming in a rematch or even a best of series if you decide to make it a central point of your deck in any particular way. So I'm really saddened by the fact that this card is unlikely to see play. And I personally am going to try something with it, assuming that I can get a copy or two. I think like a blue, red, maybe premonitions, some heavy card draw might work. But the question I get stuck asking myself at that point is, what is that deck trying to do? I'm not sure exactly. It can't simply be to try to get this card on the table. We all know that that never ever works. I will say this though. In Draft or Sealed, this thing seems really good because it is a huge dice card. I know that I haven't done anything on Draft just yet, but give me some time and I'll be filling your ears with plenty of stuff on that. All right, let's move on, shall we? Obi-Wan Kenobi's lightsaber is a big crowd pleaser to all those blue hero players. Personally, I like this card a lot, but I also take some issues with it, and I'll tell you what those are right now. Firstly, its die isn't super great. Pound for pound, I also feel like a raised lightsaber is a better play for the price because it provides at least 1 shield on play, and it has redeploy, of course. I feel like 2 shield sides on this die are a bit of a waste on the lightsaber. I'd rather have a resource die side if I can be, completely honest here. Second, that special is in fact very powerful at the right time. It's also worth at least 1 damage, and that damage is unblockable. But the special is just one side of the die. Now, for anyone who's played lightsaber or any blue upgrade with a single special side, it's kind of just a pray to roll it. Now, with Kanan out there and his focus side, I see its value going up significantly. But Kanan also only has 1 focus die in his side. You got to remember that. You're not going to roll it every single round like some people seem to think when they talk about Kanan. And I don't even know where that idea comes from. People are like, oh, Kanan's got a focus side. You're not going to get whatever you want. It's got just as much a chance of rolling Kanan's focus naturally as you have of rolling this special naturally. My third issue with the card is where it fits. And this is the more complicated issue. Prior to the Empire at War meta, Qui-Gon was hanging on kind of by a thread. Then Rules Reference Guide 1.5 dropped. Shields became amazing again. People discovered that Kanan was definitely the better pairing for Qui-Gon, and he came back into fashion like a beast. And that, that's all well deserving of Kanan. But EAW also gave us Shoto lightsabers. The two-player game gave us Rey's lightsaber, and now Qui-Gon decks are even running handcrafted light bow for the Mara match and the R2-P2 matchups. And of course, Vibro Knife is still wandering around out there somewhere. So the question then becomes, what the heck do you cut out of that deck for this weapon? And I don't think that you can cut Shoto due to the cost curve. I think Vibro Knife also can't be cut for the cost curve, but it's also not a lightsaber, so you can't pull it, so maybe that's an option. I think the light bow would be a risky substitute. So I think what ends up happening here is you run this as a one-of in place of a second raised lightsaber if your deck list has a second raised lightsaber. Because both of those weapons are unique, that one and this one, and you can't have both of them in play at once anyway. I feel like on paper this is a great weapon with tons of potential, but Blue Hero is already treading into the waters of having too many options, which, by the way, is a good problem to have, mind you. It's just that it's really tough to find space for it. And those are just some of my thoughts on this weapon as far as, the full constructed meta looks right now. Tarkin is a presence no matter what format you decide to play, but he certainly shines in constructed, it seems. And man, is his power action good. But let's talk about his die and his points first. Tarkin lands himself at 1316 for 11 HP, and a die that brings to the table a whole heck of a lot, I feel. Let's ignore the 2 indirect damage side on this die and go right to the focus. Now, do you remember the last red villain that had a 1 and a 2 focus on his die? Well, his partner got nerfed, and I'm talking about Thrawn in the event that you're not aware of that. Now, villains having access to focus on their die, twice especially, is something sort of insane if you ask me. It's one less thing that heroes get to be unique about, and it hurts a little bit. But where Tarkin is concerned, he thinks outside the box as a character, and I think it becomes thematically warranted if nothing else. The 2 discard side at his cost is also something that I am supremely jealous of as a hero player. To this day, the only hero with 2 discard side is Jyn Erso, and she's about as playable as that R2-D2 that we got in SOR, which everyone ignores even exists. And maybe that's an exaggeration. I'm sorry for the people who love to play Jyn Padme, but the reality is that deck has huge holes. It's not that competitive. Tarkin's die and his power action, though, they position him to be a primary support character that you can also build your deck around, much like Thrawn was. The power action is a thing of absolute beauty. Can you imagine focusing dice just into blanks just to use it? I mean, you could do that with his 2 focus die or even his 1 focus side if you already got another one showing. One way to play him might well be how many garbage dice can you bring to the game and try to pair up for his ability each round, right? A more serious approach in that sort of same vein might be involving Kylo, maybe pair with a holocron package, things like Dark Council, Sith holocron, die that already have 2 blanks on them that, hey, if I don't get to resolve something useful out of that, I can make 4 indirect damage happen instead. So I think that there's something there with Tarkin, and I cannot wait to see what people are going to construct around him. I truly think that he is one of the best legendaries in this set. Yoda is going to be a beast of a card as well, at least in one archetype, and I think that that archetype is Mill. Some people might be disappointed about that, but I'm here to relax your fears with some basic discussion about why Yoda is good, but also why he's very beatable. Now, this is old Dagobah Yoda that we're looking at here, trying to teach Luke to sell shoes, but he can't because he's too ugly. That's probably what Jay from Double Blanks would say anyway. But what I would like to say is he wants to be in a deck that's going to take advantage of special chaining. So here's how that line of thinking goes, at least in my head. Elite Yoda, Elite Padme, profitable connections plot. So you start with 3 resources. You run a lot of removal, maybe some shield cards. Yoda special is all about flipping Padme's die to special and taking a resource as the second part of his special, potentially milling 4 per turn. Each time they remove a Padme die, instead you can just use his special to chain her other die and then mill with one of his as his special second action. So no matter what, I think you can get at least 2 mil per round, but ideally you'd want to shoot for like 4 to 6. And then Legacies is bringing in other cards like Bespin Wingguard from the rival set and Strength Through Weakness, which is essentially a 3-cost loose ends for hero. And of course, there's already great removal speed for yellow, and blue also got a bit of a boost in that area this set as well. But outside of that, I'm not sure where you stick Yoda. You know, he's not really worth running at 1 die if you ask me. His disrupt and his discard sides, they seem kind of useless in decks that want aggressive negotiations. So I feel like you almost have to run him elite. And then he's not really a substitute for Kanan or even Awakening's Ray in a Qui-Gon deck. Maybe he could work in that old Kanan Jedi Instructor Padawan deck in place of Kanan, but I'm not sure that what his special is really doing there for you either. So my conclusion was that he seems to be a really great mill character, which I'm totally happy about, by the way. I think he's a key to a really fast mill deck that we haven't seen yet, and that is also going to have some trouble with survivability, perhaps. And if you know anything about me, I love Hero and I love mill. So, you know, you can bet your butts I'm going to be bringing this to my local game store sometime in February. So be ready for that, everyone down at Highlander. Yoda, great card. Probably not what everyone else wanted. Still, I think he's one of the best legendaries in the set because he enables something that heroes have needed a key player for a long time ago. How that will pan out, still yet to be seen, but I'm pretty hopeful. Now, I know I've covered this card before, and it has probably been talked about to death by this point, but holy crap. Every time I look at this card, I am just perplexed by its design. I know what FFG is thinking, and it's that its legendary status justifies the power level of this card, but in my opinion, it really, really doesn't. This card has much farther reaching applications than just being a 2-cost vehicle with basically 4 damage sides, 2 of which have the potential to do 5 indirect damage, though the expected values are probably closer to 2 or 3. And what I don't like about it is that it is a strongly meta warping card. It cripples monocolored decks big time. This is meta warping like Awakening's Poe Dameron was during SOR meta, where no one played 4-wide decks because they knew they were just going to auto lose to thermal detonators. There is, however, one major difference, and it's that shields are once again a major player in the meta. So I think to myself that perhaps this is sort of balanced, and then I think about all the shield hit cards that villain has and that hero doesn't have. And then I think about Kylo 2 himself and that new Anakin from the rival set, and I'm left wondering what the constructed format will look like in a month or so when Legacies get to full worldwide launch, and I'm kind of scared by that thought. Kylo Ren's Starfighter may not look like much to people that are unfamiliar with the game, and maybe I am overreacting a bit, but I also see the scale going way back into the villain camp with this card. Remember how dominant Kylo 2 was? And still sort of is before the old shield change, right? Or the current shield change? This is just kind of swinging things back in the other direction, you know. That said, there are another 173 cards in Legacy that have the potential to warp the meta even further and in different ways. Maybe we can even call that meta shaping, right? So while putting a lot of stock in this card may not seem worthwhile, what is worth noting is how much noise it has made. And I still think that it's an insanely good legendary and one of the, if not the, best ones in this set. And it's probably amazing in draft as well. Well, folks, I hope you all had a really great holiday yesterday. This is the day after Christmas that this is being recorded and will go up. I know that I did, you know, have a great holiday. And once it passed, all I could think about was Destiny again. And so I wanted to get something out to all the fans early in the week since I kind of got most of my voice back. I'm still not 100% as you can hear. I'm probably like 90, 95%. Pretty close though. And getting this video out makes me feel really accomplished, right? So what's next? Well, we've got Rivals out in the wild now, and I know that talking about draft has basically been all the rage lately. I, unfortunately, haven't gotten my hands on the Rivals set yet, so I haven't really had any experience with it. I do have a fair bit of knowledge about drafting from way back in the day, however, so I'm going to share what I can as we go along, and I'm probably going to tap my buddy Zerlik quite a bit since he basically only plays draft in Magic the Gathering. But, you know, that said, I think evaluating cards for draft as we go forward is going to be something really worthwhile. So when appropriate, we're going to talk about that too in a lot of videos coming up. All right, so that wraps this one up, Rebels. Until next time, remember to let the Wookiees win lest you lose an arm. May the Force be with you.